there, and good morning. Today, we're going to be talking about the Israelites leaving Egypt, escaping from Pharaoh's grasp. So, the Israelites were slaves in Egypt, and they were made to work very, very, very hard. What's the hardest you think you've ever worked in your life? Chances are it's probably not as hard as how the Israelites worked while they were slaves in Egypt. But Moses, who was chosen by God to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, and his brother went to go see Pharaoh. And they said, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Let my people go." He said, let them go. They don't want to be slaves anymore. They shouldn't be slaves anymore. Stop it. Stop making them work so hard. Well, Pharaoh didn't like that, and he didn't care about the God of the Israelites. He said, Who is the Lord that I should obey him? I don't know him, and I won't let the Israelites go. That's not good. Then Pharaoh decided to make the slaves work even harder so that they weren't distracted by this talk about leaving. Soon, the Israelites told Moses, "You've made a mess of things." Can you imagine? You're trying to save these people. You're trying to help them, right? And you say, "All right, Pharaoh, got to let these people go." And Pharaoh says, "No." And then he makes those people work even harder. And the people you're trying to save start blaming you for having to work harder. That wouldn't make me feel so good. So they say, "You made a mess of things. Now Pharaoh and his men want to kill us with more work." Yeah, I'd be kind of grumpy. So what do you think Moses did? Well, at any time we are facing a trial or trouble or something we don't understand or something that is difficult, you pray. And that's what Moses did. God told Moses that all he needed to do was obey. When Moses returned to Pharaoh, he did miracles to show that God was the one true God. But Pharaoh's heart was hard. He would not let the Israelites go. So God began to send plagues on Egypt. First, the water turned to blood. Oh my gosh. What would you think if your water turned to blood? You know, you get it out of the tap. It's not water, it's blood. Ugh, that'd be gross. But this didn't change Pharaoh's mind. Can you believe that? Water turning into blood wasn't enough to change somebody's mind. That's pretty incredible. Then God sent frogs. Lots and lots of frogs. Frogs in the beds, in the food, in the ovens, everywhere. Can you imagine waking up with just frogs all over your room? You get out of your bed and you just step on a bunch of frogs. This annoyed Pharaoh enough that he told Moses, "If you make the frogs go away, I'll let your people go." So, except for the frogs in the Nile, all the frogs died, and they stank. But then Pharaoh changed his mind. So God sent gnats everywhere, like these big, nasty bugs. Then God sent big flies, lots of big flies. Flies were everywhere. All right, so you had frogs, gnats, and now you got flies buzzing around. Just so many flies that if you were to even open your mouth, 10 of them would fly in there. That's gross. But flies were only in the homes and the palaces of the Egyptians, not in the Israelites' homes. The flies stayed away from them. Pharaoh said he'd let the people go if God would remove the flies. So, again, Moses prayed. But do you think Pharaoh was okay with letting the people go? Of course not. God did what Moses asked and removed the flies, but Pharaoh changed his mind again. Moses warned Pharaoh that things were going to get a lot worse if he didn't let him go. But Pharaoh, he didn't seem to care. Next, all of the Egyptians' livestock got sick. All the cows, sheep, lambs, goats, all of them got super sick. And that was a pretty big source of food for them. But not even one of the Israelites' animals was ill. Then both the Egyptian people and their animals got horrible sores on them. Like nasty, gross sores that just itched and were like rashes. Man, if I was Pharaoh in that situation, I would have let the Israelites go. Then there was terrible hail. The Egyptians' crops were ruined, but the plants of the Israelites were undamaged. Locusts and darkness followed for the Egyptians, but the Israelites' homes and fields were protected. And Pharaoh stayed stubborn. Can you imagine that? You're letting your own people suffer all these terrible plagues, darkness, frogs, locusts, famine, sores, illness, just because you want what you want. Talk about being selfish. Finally, God told Moses that he was sending a plague that would convince Pharaoh once and for all to let the Israelites go. God's people needed to be ready. When this plague hit, it would be time to move and move right away. The Israelites did just as God told them. Each family took a perfect male lamb and marked their doorstep with its blood. They roasted and ate the lamb meat, wearing their coats, ready to go. This meal was called Passover because the lamb's blood on the door kept everyone in that house safe. But in any house where a door wasn't marked, all the firstborn children would die. People, birds, animals, all of them, all the firstborn died, even in Pharaoh's palace. In the middle of the night, stubborn Pharaoh finally summoned Aaron and Moses. Up, up, get up, he shouted. Leave my people, go. So the Israelites left, moving out into the darkness of the desert. How do you think the Israelites felt then? After witnessing all of these plagues, and then finally, in order to convince Pharaoh, firstborn has to die. They were following God to the land he promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God was keeping his promise and leading his people to the promised land. Promised land. So, God rescued his people in an amazing way. He helped all the people know that he was really the one true God. God's rescue of the Israelites from the last plague is something that Jewish people have celebrated every year since that time. And this celebration, called Passover, was the very same holiday that Jewish people were celebrating when Jesus was killed on the cross many, many years after this story. Well, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and may God be with you.